You're listening to the Geekly Chronicles, Series 5, Episode 3.
Thanks for listening back to the Geekly Chronicles.
This show was recorded on the 28th of October, 2016.
This version of the show isn't quite the same as the one that went out live, as we've had to edit out all of the songs.
It's nothing personal. We're just big fans of making sure artists get paid for the great things they create.
If you want to listen back to the show in its full musical glory, head over to our Mixcloud channel, where you'll find every episode of the Geekly Chronicles as it was meant to be heard.
Ooh.
That's mixcloud.com/GKLYCO.
Thanks again for listening.
Hello!
Hello.
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 Oh. Amazing.
Well, welcome to episode 3 of Series 5.
Ooh. Series 3 already.
Episode 3.
That's it.
We've done Series 3. That happened.
That is true.
About a year ago.
Oh, I don't know. I'm all 6s and 7s this evening.
Yes. Apparently so.
I'm 8s and 9s, so...
But doesn't time fly?
It certainly does.
Especially in a week that Londoners could ride a unicorn to work.
Ooh, that's quite exciting. And also in a week where we've seen some possible new emoji designs aimed at older people.
And a week in which a woman bought a scratch card to show her husband that they're a waste of money and ended up winning $1 million.
Nice. In all those weeks, we bring you a special spooky edition of the Geekly Chronicles.
Indeed. We've got food, all your favourite features, and guests galore.
We have. Galore is right. We'll be debunking some Halloween myths with David, who's a bat expert from the Cumbria Wildlife Trust. We'll be talking about insects as food with Dr. Jenny Josephs, and catching up with Andrew Smith following the final of the Great British Bake Off on Wednesday night.
Ooh, there's also your usual chance to take home some swag in the Winning Words competition.
And of course, we'll be playing your music requests and shout-outs, so get those in on Twitter and get those in our chat room if you are joining that.
So we have a Winning Words competition to get underway.
We do indeed. We even, excitingly, have a prize rollover situation.
That's right. Last time, while I was off in Hawaii, no one spotted our winning word, so we already have a little yellow submarine. Now, that is a tongue twister in itself. A little yellow submarine tea infuser in today's prize bundle.
Yes, I imagine that would have made the song a little bit more complicated for the Beatles.
We all live in a blah, blah, blah.
We all live in a little yellow submarine tea infuser, a little yellow submarine tea infuser, a little yellow submarine tea infuser. And we'll also be adding another prize later in the show.
So to be in with a shot of winning all this exciting stuff, all you have to do is listen.
And not just listen, but listen very closely. Each episode we have a special winning word that you need to listen out for.
Last time the word was Cyclops and it cropped up in the Tumble Fumble, but now we need a new one. So...
This week's winning word is gremlin.
As soon as you hear that word, give us a call using the phone numbers on our website.
And if you're the first to call after you hear the winning word, you win the things.
And here's how you do it.
If you hear the winning word, give us a call in the UK on 020 3389 6245 or in the US on 415 287 9705. You might just win something. Calls cost the standard geographic rate from mobiles and BT landlines. Other networks may vary and international calls will cost significantly more. Lines close at the end of the show. Please do not try to enter if you are listening back to the podcast as the competition has closed, but you may still be charged. For full terms or to find another regional number, visit gkly.co/win.
And lines open now.
Exciting.
I'm rather excited.
Now, on the last show, Chris, you had an idea for live Pac-Man.
Yes, I did. I still want to play live-action Pac-Man.
Well, that's as may be, but unfortunately 64% of last week's audience decided not to fund your idea.
This is true. I mean, I disagree. But this time we have another idea for your consideration.
Yes, we do. So this one is my idea.
Is it really?
Very exciting.
I'm worried already.
Well, and I was thinking to myself, Halloween, right? It's a time of year, but what could we do to automate Halloween a little more?
Oh gosh.
Always thinking of home automation projects, and I thought there's got to be I was seeing our wonderful guest Terence Edium from the episode 1 of this series was tweeting about hacking doorbells and people that were hacking Amazon Dash buttons to be doorbells, and I thought, what if we could create some kind of neural network all hacked into a doorbell that could look at the trick-or-treaters at the door and decide whether or not they were actually worthy of your attention. And then I thought, well, why not just automate the entire process? And then I can go out for Halloween and trick-or-treaters can still get treats or told that their costume's not very good.
Is it a bad time to admit that I don't actually know what a neural network is?
It's like a brain in a computer. It can think a bit.
Well, now I'm terrified.
But I've come up with this idea for the costume recognition automation process robot, or the crap bot for short.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
And so I think that this robotic doorbell will be the future. And in fact, we've really gone and tried to imagine what that would be like.
State your intent.
What?
State your intent.
Trick or treat?
Scanning. Your costume appears to be handmade.
Yeah, I put a lot of work into it.
What does your costume represent?
Zombie Donald Trump, obviously.
Stand by. Stand by. Your costume is deemed acceptable with extra points for comedic effect. Dispensing treat now.
Sick, bruv.
Treat dispensed. Goodbye.
See ya.
Trick or treat, trick or treat.
Scanning. Detecting low levels of costume effort.
I'm a ghost.
Bedsheet ghost detected. Alert. Alert. Bedsheet ghost detected. Administering trick.
Administering what?
Administering trick. Administering trick.
Ah, what are you doing?
Low effort costume still in scanning area. Dispensing eggs in 3, 2, 1.
Ah!
Lame costume neutralized.
So there you go.
Wow. I
Nice.
mean, that is essentially boiling this idea down to the essence of what it is. It's a vending machine that punishes you.
Well, if you wear a bedsheet and pretend to be a ghost, then yes. If you put effort into your costume, it rewards you with a treat. That's the approach that I take on Halloween. You come to my door with a good costume, you get rewarded. You come to my door with a terrible costume, you really don't.
I mean,
Right.
my approach to Halloween, personally, is you come to my door, good costume or no good costume, and I turn all the lights off and pretend to be out because I've seen how good the candy looks and want it all for myself.
Yeah,
But-
well, that's fair.
Yeah, I always end up buying double the amount of Halloween candy because, you buy some so you have it in and then you eat it all and you have to go out and buy more.
Yes.
But you can vote for this pitch. So would you fund it, really, is the question that we're asking you. Would you put money towards this lovely robotic doorbell?
We'll be
Well,
checking back
Would
in.
I?
We'll be checking back in with the results from Would You Fund It later in the show.
And
But-
how can people vote?
If you want to cast your vote on whether or not this should be a thing and you want your neighbourhood children rewarded or punished robotically, head on over to gkly.co/fund it and you'll have a nice little votey thingy there. And you can also, if you prefer, head over to our Twitter at GKLYCO, where we will tweet a poll very shortly. So, as we were saying at the beginning, this week commuters in London could take a unicorn-propelled carriage to work.
Yeah, this was to promote a new phone.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, the first thing I think about when I see a unicorn is obviously getting a new phone. So.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. I'd certainly want to snap a picture of the unicorn on my phone. Maybe my phone camera's not good enough.
well, that part makes sense at least.
Ta-da. Marketing.
I'm not sure how I feel about the horses they dressed up. I hope they were. I hope the horses were okay with the unicornification.
You mean they weren't real unicorns? Well, that goes my whole belief system.
Can I just say I love the word unicornification. But speaking of beliefs, Glenda Blackwell, Blackwell. That's how you say it. Glenda Blackwell.
I'm sure
had-
her back is also well. Yeah.
I hope so. I hope for well backs from all of our listeners. But she had her beliefs challenged and, well, turned upside down, really, about scratch cards because she thought they were a complete waste of money.
And then it turns out you buy one and you win $1 million.
Yeah. I mean, there are worse ways to prove a point.
So yeah,
Even if it completely backfires on you, you
Yeah.
still got $1 million.
I mean, that's an "I told you so" dance that I could get behind right there.
Yeah,
like,
but
I said that they were worth something, and we won $1 million. I'd be dancing around.
Yeah.
it's kind of a win-win for Glenda because, you know, if she hadn't won, she proves her point, and if she has won, she's got $1 million. She doesn't need to care what her husband thinks.
Yeah, definitely a belief I wouldn't mind having challenged.
Absolutely. So still to come, we'll be chatting to our wonderful guests, and Kez and Catherine will be battling it out in a return to our regular Game of Geeks.
Yes, always useful. And don't forget, you can keep sending your requests in. You can join our chat room. So if you head to the GKLY channel on Freenode, or use the chat box on our website, you can join the chat room and be a part of that. Or you can tweet your requests to us. Just tweet at GKLYCO.
Hello to everyone in the chat room, by the way, that has come in with a Halloweeny nickname. I'm quite enjoying those.
Yeah, Bram full of Stoker is my all-time favourite.
Really, I'm finding Bonjela quite terrifying. Do you know, if you've got an ulcer and you put Bonjela on it, it's really like, ah! That's...
Is it?
Yeah, have you not?
I mean,
But
yeah, I have used
Well, I've-
Bonjela, but I just kind of find it sort of cooling. And
I find it quite terrifying.
all right.
So for me, Bonjela is the scariest nickname. I don't
I see.
don't really get the Bram full of Stoker one. What's...
So Bram Stoker wrote Dracula,
Oh.
and it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well,
Well, while we all consider that, Halloween's coming up on Monday, and we're going to be talking about that on today's show. And in a bit, we'll be debunking some Halloweeny myths. But first, Catherine, you have some exciting Pokemon Halloween-related news.
are the Pokemon excited?
I really don't know. Sometimes they jump up and down, but yeah, who knows? As if Mondays weren't scary enough, right? So, yeah, Pokemon are doing kind of a Halloween special candy bonus thing. So again, I apologise if you're not a Pokemon Go player because I'm going to talk about that again.
I've just got back into it actually, so do tell.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the reason for doing this is to sort of re-energize players that have perhaps sort of dropped off and not really been playing it that much. So for a few days, I think from the 26th until the 1st of November, 26th of October, obviously, until the 1st of November, we can get double candy for everything that generates candy on Pokemon Go. So
Well, even transferring it to the professor.
yeah. So if I transfer a Pokemon to the professor, he'll now give me 2 candies instead of 1.
Ooh.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't really know how that works from a, how do you grind up a Pokemon and suddenly get 2 candies instead of 1? But anyway, it's all good. So obviously that makes it easier to power up your Pokemon and to evolve them as well. So we'll hopefully see some new, more powerful Pokemon lurking around, or some rarer Pokemon.
I did actually. I opened the app earlier when I was just kind of stood around, and there were a couple of Pokemon that I'd not seen in this area before that I was able to catch. That was pretty good. I got a Ghastly. I hadn't been able to get one of those before.
Yeah, it
Very
seems
spooky.
that there's a whole list of Pokemon that have become much more common over these few days. So things like Ghastlies and Haunters, and the spookier Pokemon, your Zubats.
Oh, there are Zubats everywhere, though. I mean, they're
Yeah.
just
Anyway, but
yeah,
I think they're just slightly more common.
2 steps away from a Rattata.
Yeah, Drowsy's also everywhere. Hypnos occasionally. Also, is it Cubone and Meowth?
Cubone.
Yeah.
Yes. Cubone was the one in the series that was like, Cubone, Ben. As my impressions of Pokemon from the original 90s anime is impressive.
Uh-huh. So that'll be on Kez's next album.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, so if you've lapsed in playing Pokemon, or if you just want to, I don't know, get some more candy, for some different Pokemon. Go check it out.
I'm always a fan of some candy.
It might also be a good time to start playing if you've been thinking about it.
Yes.
Yep, so everyone listening that has a smartphone, if you don't have Pokemon Go already, get it. And
Otherwise you'll be
join
really
Team
bored.
Instinct, because the yellow one's the best one.
For reference, 2 of the 3 Geekly presenters are not part of Team Instinct. Can you guess which one is?
Honestly, there are so few people in Team Instinct. We need a boost.
Yeah, I think Team Instinct, what was it? They were saying it's like 35% of the user base or something, and Team Mystic, go Team Mystic, have like 40%. So
Yeah.
I think had I known that,
And
I
Valor,
probably would
the
have
rest.
gone with Instinct because I hate to be obvious.
Yeah.
I was so cheesed off when I was sorted into Gryffindor for the Pottermore Harry Potter site. Sorted me into Gryffindor. I was like, oh, it's so obvious.
You like being the underdog, don't you?
Yeah, or just the slightly less
Like,
popular
I wanted
choice.
to be a Hufflepuff, said no one ever.
It's
Yes.
me.
So
Anyway,
Bonjella in the chat room has said Valor for the win. So on 3 Geekly presenters, can we get one noise that sums up how we feel about Team Valor? 1, 2, 3. So there you go.
we're so nice, aren't we?
Yes.
Bramful of Stoker says, I was Instinct, then I stopped playing in September. Come
Well,
back.
yes.
Come back.
Come back. There's double candy.
Come back.
And Lucas1321 has deliberately tried to stay far, far away from Pokemon.
I
Go.
will give anyone that starts playing and goes for Team Instinct a hug.
Well,
And
whole
a
hug.
pizza. I'll buy them a pizza.
gosh. Okay, a hug, and a pizza. Redeemable
Wow.
if you
Yep.
start playing Pokemon Go today.
Yep. I'm going camping after the show, and I fully expect everyone there to be on Team Instinct by the time I arrive, and I will bring hugs and pizzas. Or maybe just pizzas.
Nice.
I mean, it depends what you want, really. So,
Yeah. Anyway, in other Halloweeny,
Yes, moving away from
Internet-ness.
Pokemon Go.
yes.
let's spare our listeners any more of me talking about that. Another corner of the
Yeah.
internet that I always end up visiting at Halloween is one of Chris's creations, the Halloween costume generator.
I've got it open in a tab here. HalloweenCostumeGenerator.com.
Mm-hmm.
I do think through the most original domain names, don't I?
Yes.
And my Halloween costume generator is Gothic Nintendo Player's Guide.
Nice.
Nice.
I
yeah.
have scary behavioural despair test.
I've got spooky list of listed buildings in Dreghorn, North Ayrshire.
I've got Spooky European Parliamentary Constituency.
Nice.
Just to be clear, this takes a kind of a descriptive word.
Yeah,
that
like
one might-
the kind of thing you usually find in front of a Halloween costume, like
Mhm.
spooky or scary. There's a couple of others in there, like gothic.
I just got Sexy Bees.
Well,
Is there any other kind? And then so it mashes this word in front of a random Wikipedia article.
Yep.
So
could
yeah,
be
you get
anything.
My favourite one that I've generated over the last few days was slutty Nokia Lumia 1020.
That's brilliant.
I would go dressed as that.
Yeah, I've just got sexy Croatia in the Eurovision Song Contest 2010. I mean, I assumed they were.
I'm the Gothic 2005 UCLA Bruins football team.
Nice. I am Gothic. List of compositions by John Philip Sousa. Or Sousa.
Gothic Adolf Hitler.
I've got
Okay.
That's
I
bad.
think
Wow,
that
I
one's
think-
been done somehow.
well, I've got spooky, thoroughly modern Bing.
Nice. I got Spooky Neutrino, which sounds actually not impossible.
Spooky Neapolitan ice cream.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Well, I'm certainly scared of it. It's endless fun, this. I have to say, I may be tooting my own horn because I built it, but like the amount of stuff that is on Wikipedia that just magically gets funnier when you add scary in front of it. Such as
Spooky traffic cadet.
scary DNS certification authority authorization.
Gothic Lawton, Virginia.
Slutty Britain's best dish.
Gothic Stephen Gerrard.
All right then.
Uh,
Spooky eco building cluster. So, HalloweenCostumeGenerator.com. If you want to share any of those with us during the show, we will read them out if you tweet. at GKLYCO with the handy tweet button on the website.
Gothic Lifestyle Management Company.
Yes.
Not going to get better than that, is it?
I want to hire a Gothic lifestyle management company to tell me how to be more goth.
I think we should start one.
Yes.
Learn on the job.
That is a would you fund it right there.
Yeah, I like it.
Bramful of Stoker just got spooky Japanese studies.
Ah, there we go. We've talked about Halloween. Whenever we've kind of had a show that's come up around Halloween, we have talked about it a bit. But there are lots of myths surrounding Halloween, and it's a spooky holiday.
I mean,
or
that
a
tends
gothic holiday, or whatever your name
Whichever
generator
adjective.
does with that.
I mean, that's kind of to be expected, I suppose, with the sort of amount of mythical stuff around Halloween, like ghosts may or may not exist, and zombies.
Well, see,
with fortune don't exist.
See, I'm quite a skeptic, really. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in the paranormal and things like that. I think black cats are cute and not scary. I walk under ladders. I'm quite happy to smash mirrors. I don't.
Is that just a pastime for you of an evening?
I just go around smashing mirrors.
Handful of pebbles in the wardrobe department.
Or the black cat on my shoulder.
Yes.
And a ladder that I can always walk under if I want to.
Fantastic.
And that is my evening. But no, I think there are so many myths around Halloween. I mean, can you think about a Halloween? Let's myth bust Halloween. Can you think about a Halloween myth that could be busted?
Well, I mean, I go in the supermarket and I see, things like, jelly spiders and things. And I'm thinking, well, it's not really... I don't suppose some people are scared of them, but they're not really, bad or terrifying.
Well, the ones in this country aren't.
No.
Fortunately.
True. And we are going to be talking to Dr. Jenny Joseph a bit later, who eats bugs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which is exciting.
So clearly isn't that afraid of spiders or similar.
No, but what else about Halloween is just...
Well, I think, what we were saying about Pokemon Go, and I'm saying that, Zubats are more common. There's this notion that, bats are somehow scary.
That's true. And we were talking about this before the show, and we were saying that bats are always seen as a really scary animal, and we want to bust this myth. Mm-hmm. So we have joining us on the show tonight someone that can hopefully help us dispel that myth entirely. So as we get to this time of year, there's a real stigma around certain animals. With myth-busting Halloween this year, what is it about bats in particular that people find so scary, do you think?
I think it's probably mostly to do with the dark, that they come out in the dark. If you think about the animals that we are frightened of in this country mostly, it's mostly things to do with darkness and dark spaces and those kinds of things. Because after all, we haven't got great big animals that are likely to eat you whole, so we seem to be frightened of creepy crawlies, really.
It's not just bats either. Spiders and black cats get a bad rep around this time of year. Is there any sort of natural basis to it all?
No, I mean, well, obviously black cats are harmless. Mostly they're people's pets. Spiders in this country are entirely harmless, in spite of what the Daily Express says every year. It's mostly just superstitious nonsense. Bats aren't going to come anywhere near you. So much mythology about a set of animals that are associated with darkness, I think.
And thinking about bats in particular, what do they actually do for us and for the environment around us?
Well, I mean, there's one thing is that they're interesting and beautiful. And if you ever get up close to one, they're actually unbelievably cute. But I suppose the main service that we might think of them as doing for us is eating insects. They eat huge quantities of insects. That's what all their food is. They just fly about in the night hoovering up insects. And one of the critical things that's starting to affect them is the loss of insects. We are going through a sort of invertebrate apocalypse at the moment.
How can people make a difference? Is there something that we can do to help?
People can actually start to take it seriously and say, hold on a minute, this is going to be a disaster, because it will be a disaster. If you lose pollinating invertebrates, then the costs of that are massive, because all the food that needs to be pollinated by insects requires insects to pollinate it. The practical one is probably for most people about things like gardens, window boxes, and so on. Nest boxes for things like blue tits, because they insects. And then not using chemicals in your garden, making sure you've got lots of attractive plants that provide nectar for insects, having things like little ponds, because ponds don't need to be big, having things like compost heaps, and trying as hard as possible to stay away from the chemical compounds.
So later in this show, we're going to be talking to Dr. Jenny Josephs about eating insects, and also catching up with Andrew from this year's Great British Bake Off. If we could convince Andrew to bake a cake with some of Jenny's bugs in it, would you eat it?
Yes, I'm afraid famous amongst my friends for eating anything. Doesn't matter what it is, I will eat it. So I would be lying if I said, "Oh no, I wouldn't dream of eating that." I'm afraid I'll eat almost anything.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no trouble.
We have decided this week, as well as the scariness of Halloween, to cover the scariness of, well,
future food, I think.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of...
I kind of hope that this food is not in our future. I mean, you may well be sat now having your dinner, or, I don't know, cooking sausages or something. But
sausages.
We're sat here in the studio, and we like our food.
We do. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, we have on many occasions eaten food on the show.
Yes.
But tonight...
We are consummate professionals.
Yeah, tonight we're not going to do anything like eat anything nice, though.
Yes, that's very true. So this kind of all started when you were out in Hawaii, and you discovered that, well, the US and the UK have very different attitudes to food, as we've discussed many times before on the show. But you came across an item that just sort of enraged and intrigued you, judging by how you reacted to it.
Yeah, well,
when you sent us a message.
I'd heard rumours of this before, but I finally saw it in a shop, and it is cheese in a can. Do you know, like, you get squirty cream in this country?
No.
So I'm going to open it here. I've got some in front of me, and this is actually, you can see that it's got an aerosol thing, like.
You're pointing it at me. I'm quite scared.
Sorry. But so it's called Easy Cheese.
Easy peasy, cheesy squeezy. I'm guessing.
Apparently made with real cheese, but if I look at the ingredients on the back, I'm not sure there's much of a percentage there. It's got cheese culture enzymes in it. So less than 2%.
Not actual cheese, but like the bacteria from cheese.
But if anyone has looked at my Twitter recently, you'll have seen me tweeting about this, and I did try a spoonful of it, and I didn't die. But I really wanted to share this with my co-host here. So I've got some some biscuits to go with the cheese.
Yes.
This is. We would normally have cheese and biscuits, but what I'm going to do now is I've got one in front of me, and I'm going to squeeze some of this cheese out onto it.
So we're not just going to squeeze it straight into our mouths, sort of Michonne on The Walking Dead.
I thought we'd be like less unhygienic to do it this way.
Possibly.
So I'm gonna.
If we administer biscuits.
Hello.
Oh, that. Oh no, that doesn't look.
It looks positively piped.
Yeah, cheese should not look like it's just come out of a piping bag.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do another one whilst Catherine and Chris takes a picture of me holding this one up, and we'll put it on our Twitter account because this is simply disgusting looking.
I mean, it's my phone.
Yeah,
it's
just
this picture.
Why would you put that much?
I'm
cheese
holding
on?
it horizontal. I'm holding it vertical now, and the cheese is not sliding off.
Yeah, it's quite.
It's just this kind of paste. It looks a bit like, you know, bathroom sealant. It looks a lot like bathroom sealant, and yet it's cheese. Apparently.
I mean, I still doubt that. Can you really call it cheese?
I'm gonna pass you that one. There you go.
I'm holding it by the edges. I'm scared to even touch it, let alone put it in my mouth.
Make you one here, Catherine. Oh look, I can do different shapes.
Oh god, you could draw a face.
I could pipe like a cake.
Yeah, that's quite a pile of cheese you piped onto that.
This is almost Bake Off in its. I should do one for me as well. Here.
To add insult to injury, you've also put it on top of a Jacob's cheddar. So.
You can pipe really pretty patterns with this.
That's actually quite a nice little design you've got going on there.
All right, are we ready to give this a go?
Here we go.
Right.
3, 2, 1, cheese.
How are you finding it?
Oh no.
It's not as bad as I thought.
Not as bad as you thought.
I mean,
It's just like cream cheese, isn't it?
it's not as bad as I
Bit of
imagined
Primula.
it would be, but that's not.
All right, well let's
It's just like
good.
super orange dairy.
let's dig into this for a
It
sec.
is quite.
This happens every time the gang do a food thing in the studio. They're eating, which doesn't really work on radio, and Muggin's here has to keep you entertained for a few seconds while they polish off whatever they've got in their gob. Are you three done yet?
Almost.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'd eat that on a tuck biscuit.
You would.
Well, I think we've got some duck. Yeah, it's interesting. It's certainly not
it's
as
not
horrible.
as bad as it
No.
could be.
I get what you mean about Dairyly. It
But
very
it's not
much is
cheese.
similar.
It's not
definitely
cheese.
not cheese. No. It's chemicals made to simulate cheese.
Apparently, it's an excellent source of calcium.
Oh dear. I don't want to know why.
Well, I feel calcified already.
Yeah. But like,
What sort of velocity can I get on this thing? Can I get it? Can I get it in your face, Catherine? From here.
I doubt it.
how much force does it come out of the can
Oh,
with?
quite a bit of force if you press it down.
It's quite a pressurized can of cheese.
Yeah.
Pressurized can
I'm just gonna
of
sit
cheese.
here and eat this now. So
That
cheese
is
in
the
a
sentence.
cheese in a can. Listeners, would you eat cheese in a can?
Yeah, I mean,
Would you eat it?
that's a new segment. That's Series 6 right there. So, I mean, the idea of this, I guess, is it's sort of like a quicker way of doing cheese, I suppose. It's like chemicals to simulate the cheese experience, but make it more convenient because you can get it out of a can.
Yeah, I suppose I don't need to make a knife dirty to spread my Dairyly on my biscuit. I just squeeze it out of the can straight onto the biscuit.
Well, it says here, also available in cheddar flavour, American flavour, and cheddar and bacon flavour. Cheddar and bacon flavour.
So what was the flavour we've just had?
Sharp cheddar.
Right. It was neither of those, but
For best results, remove cap, hold applicator tip close to food. See, nothing should have an applicator tip that
certainly-
tastes good.
Yeah.
It sounds more like a feminine hygiene product than it does a cheese thing.
Well, that's an image for you at dinner time, listeners.
Caution, contents under pressure. Do not puncture. No need to refrigerate.
That's just upsetting. No need to. It's cheese.
But unlike the rest of my cheese, it doesn't go off for about 3 years. So
Yeah, that's
I've got
all right
some
then.
time to use this
So
up.
it's good apocalypse cheese.
But that was my contribution to the terrible food. Chris,
So-
you've found something as well, right?
I have. So when you told us that you had acquired this can of Easy Cheese, it got me kind of thinking about other foods that are like chemically constructed to make your life easier. Like they're not necessarily made from quote unquote natural ingredients, but they're sort of products to speed things up generally. And there's a very popular food. Is it a food substitute or a food kind of like thing called Soylent on the internet?
Oh, now, I read about this because they've just stopped manufacturing it today
Have they?
because people kept getting sick.
Ah.
Because apparently there were lots of bits of human found in the food.
Yes, you may have been reading. Okay, so I've forgotten the name of the novel, but you may have been reading a story about Soylent Green.
But they have stopped manufacturing Soylent today because people kept getting sick.
Yes, that's genuinely true. But they produce this. It's sort of a powder which you mix with water, and it creates this. I think the flavour is described by Soylent consumers as neutral with a hint of vanilla.
So why do people do this?
So this isn't a Soylent product, though, is it?
No,
This
so
one we've got here.
what we're trying on the show today is a similar product. It's called Huel, which is like human fuel.
Why?
Huel.
But so this
But-
is the idea that some people think that food is just fuel
Yeah.
and not actually there to be enjoyed. I disagree.
I was speaking to someone earlier who said that like you can be one of two types of people. You either eat to live or live to eat. It's like you enjoy food or you just eat it as a function. And this very much satisfies the eat to live
I enjoy food.
side of that.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the other side of the coin.
But this is it includes a lot of sort of chemicals, but it's based on like oats and flaxseed and coconut powders and stuff like that. and
Those three
various
things
other
are
things.
good for you. So.
One of our listeners has just written in saying Huel actually stands for horrible gruel.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. But the idea of Huel and Soylent and similar things like that, because it's all sort of like the recipes are all vaguely open source, so anyone can make this sort of thing. But
Open source food.
I know what a world we live in. But the idea is that it gives you a nutritionally complete meal in a 500 milliliter drink. And I mean, I'm reading. It comes in a bag that was face down when I opened the box, so it looked completely unmarked, which was quite scary.
Oh dear.
But you turn it over and it's got the ingredients label on it, and it says there's the nutritional information and the vitamins and minerals in it, and it gives you like 20% of most of your vitamins and minerals in a day. So the idea is that you drink 5 of these quote unquote meals per day.
5 a day.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, look, we tried my squirty cheese. Let's try Huel.
Yes. So it says on the packet, it comes with a little card
So
that
it's
says,
really just like dust, isn't it?
yeah, pretty much.
Anybody
It's a beige
know?
dust.
Das.
It says it comes with a card that says how to use, because you don't eat Huel, you don't drink Huel,
I'm
you
sorry.
use
The
Huel.
squirty cheese was much easier. It's just got a thing that you press.
Yeah, this has got instructions, but it says for 100 grams of Huel, which is what I've got in this bag here, you use 550 milliliters of water. So we've got a jug of water here, and I'm just going to tip the contents of the bag into the jug.
Oh, I'm not looking forward to this.
I'm not really either. Well, I am, but in the way that I'm very curious.
This looks
No.
like a form of
I'm
medieval torture, not food.
Not anticipating enjoying it.
It's very beige, isn't it?
But anyone that knows me knows that I like food.
It's the beigest of
And
beige.
a food should be beige.
So I'm going to close the jug up and give it a shake now. And the idea
Yeah.
is you just give it a good shake to mix the Huel with the water. And apparently 100 grams of it. This is the unflavoured and unsweetened version of Huel.
So what's it meant to taste like?
Nothing, basically.
Right.
So it's just going to be sort of thick water.
Yeah,
Thick water.
essentially.
You're making it sound so appetizing.
Thick
You are.
beige water.
And apparently 100 grams of the unflavoured and unsweetened Huel gives you 412 calories, which, for comparison, they've put on the little thing, a Tesco chicken and bacon sandwich is apparently 445. So I've shaken the Huel up. I'm going to just pour some out.
Shaken up
for,
the Huel.
There you go.
Shake your Huel.
Yes.
It's gone quite an odd colour, hasn't it?
Oh wow, that looks. I'm trying to think of how to describe it. It looks
Like the contents of a puddle.
Have you ever seen a baby? You know
I've
how
seen
sometimes babies, when they're still drinking milk and they vomit,
Oh, God.
it looks
They
like
just sort of
this.
spit up on your shoulder.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is basically baby vomit.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is supposed to be one meal, so one person is supposed to drink all of what we have just prepared. But I've divided it up amongst the three of us, and let's have a go at this.
All right, okay. Well, Chris is going first. That's
Do you know it does actually taste of nothing?
It doesn't smell of nothing.
No, it
no.
smells.
It smells like dust.
Smells
It
like
smells
sort
like
of
dust.
It's the
maybe
smell.
like
It's
a fusty drawer.
petrichor. It's petrichor. It's the smell of dust after rain.
It's a little because we're on the radio, and I don't have a blender in the studio. It's a little bit dusty. The drink. You're supposed to do it in a blender,
Blah.
but
Oh no.
Powdery
No.
water bad.
It doesn't taste like nothing. It tastes like cardboard. It tastes
Well,
like
Blended
wet
cardboard.
cardboard.
it tastes like
Ah.
it tastes
Okay,
like
that's really not
bland
good.
feels.
It tastes like if you ran your tongue along wet cardboard. I swear.
Or along the dusty top of a door.
Oh,
Oh God.
oh,
Yeah,
this is disgusting. I'll try a little bit more just for sanity's sake.
So
I feel like I'm going to be...
Ah,
That texture is going to be in
Yeah.
my mouth
God,
forever.
that's terrible.
it is supposed to be a bit smoother than this, but I mean, not
It
not
would
a
take
lot.
me
smoother.
all day to drink one, let alone
Fuel.
5.
Fuel is
Yeah.
ruining my life.
So-
oh, this is terrible.
But they have thought of this problem, and they have attempted to combat this So I said there's the vanilla flavoured Huel, but also you can buy a Huel flavour system. You've got to admire any food that describes itself as a flavour system.
That's worse than the Cheese's Applicator novel.
I know. It's I think I'm not sure what's in the flavour system, but I think there's like a toffee one or something like that.
Pass me some
And you
more
just
cheese.
Put it into the Huel and shake it
In a
up.
mo.
Bramful of Stoker in the chat room says we should add the cheese spray to the Huel.
No, I don't want to ruin the cheese spread. At this point, the cheese in a can is like the best thing I've ever tasted after drinking this.
Yeah.
It actually does grow on you though, because I'm sipping at it now.
Yeah.
It's not quite as inducing as it was when I first drank it.
Bongella asks, a 5 a day and you don't need to eat anything else. Yes, that is the idea.
So is this like going to make me buff? Am I going to be like bare buff after drinking this?
No.
You can add like protein powders and stuff, but obviously you'd have to exercise to supplement that. You
So
can't
what's
just
the point?
Take protein powder. But the idea is, in this modern day and age, people are too busy to make meals and stuff, so they just drink their nutrients instead.
No, what actually happens is that people are too busy to make meals and stuff, so Deliveroo exists.
Yeah.
Just Eat exists.
I mean, that's the less beige solution to
Although I
this
suppose
problem.
there's more washing up potentially with that.
Not unless you just eat out of the packet.
yeah, there's
But it
more
comes
washing
in.
up with this.
We've actually got to wash up a jug and glasses, or you'd have to wash up a blender. And
And
washing a blender is hard.
Yeah, and this thing, like, I mean, look at the side of the glass.
It's left sediment.
It's left sediment
I think
on
if
the
we
side
left
of the glass.
this as well, it would go like concrete probably.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
imagine
entirely unconvinced it isn't concrete, to be honest with you. It just tastes a bit like concrete mix.
you could just sort of feel it kind of solidifying. It's
I wonder what effect it would have on your bowels long term.
Thanks.
it is a weird kind of.
I keep going to have more. I don't know why.
I'm going camping after this, and I don't like to take a number 2 when I camp. So I tend to leave it if it's just a short bit of camping until I come home. So I'm really hoping that this does not have either a solidifying or a desolidifying effect on my bowels.
Well,
Um,
apparently,
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
if you do drink Huel and eat nothing else, you don't go number 2 that much.
I
At
can
all.
imagine it's just sand.
It is pretty much. It's sort of like I'm trying to frame it in the world of real food and see if I can draw parallels. It's like if you took all of the texture out of porridge and made it much wetter, you'd sort of be on the way to an approximation of what this is like.
And flavoured it with dust.
Yes, yeah, flavoured it with
I'm gonna
dust
give
and
you that
apathy.
back, I think. That's okay.
I mean, I'm probably just going to pour it back into the jug.
But Catherine, while
Grab
we were
my
on
tiles
future
with it.
foods, you discovered a beverage that was almost like the cheese in a can.
Yeah, this was one that was supposed to be, I suppose, not so much a time saver as well. I think their selling point was that it stopped you having, I suppose, soggy tea bags around the place. Not that this is
Right.
a problem that troubles me much.
I mean,
I
after
put my tea in the bin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
after
I
I've
know,
used
right?
the tea bag, it goes in the bin. It's not like they're cluttering up my kitchen.
I was just like, oh god, I slipped on another tea bag. So this was a kind of a tea in a can
Oh dear.
called No More Tea Bags.
Right.
Yeah, it just sounds horrendous.
The
really.
idea of that seems terrible.
Is it sort of like a tea cordial, really, isn't it? It's I had a look at this, and it's kind of concentrated tea that you squeeze. Excuse me, the Huel is coming back to haunt me. That you squeeze into boiling water, and it allegedly makes a cup of tea.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fantastic.
So we were looking to get some, because obviously we like to try things on the show, but you can only seem to buy it in ridiculous bulk.
Yes.
So while you wouldn't have any soggy tea bags around the place, you would have to find somewhere to store 250 cans of aerosol.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so I'm not convinced.
No.
No.
It's if I have to clear out my garage before I can use your food replacement product, I'm probably not going to be convinced on the time saving aspect, because like I'd have to clear out my garage.
Well, We are going to be
get a
talking
garage.
very shortly to Dr. Jenny Joseph, who eats insects.
To be honest, after half a glass of Huel, this is looking like a more pleasant alternative.
Oh yeah, half a glass of Huel, and I'm thinking insects.
Could go for a
totally great.
mealworm right about now.
Yeah. We're joined on the show this evening by Dr. Jenny Josephs. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing this evening?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Yes, excited to talk to you.
So you're an entomophagist. I must admit, I have no idea what that is, but I'm curious to find out, and I want to know how it's different to an entomologist, because I do know what one of those is.
So basically, an entomophagist is someone who eats insects. It doesn't mean that we exclusively eat them, so we might eat fish or mammals, but it's something that we include in our diets. So about 2 billion people around the world do eat insects as part of their diets. So we'd say that they are perhaps entomophagists.
Halloween would have us think that bugs are really creepy and scary. We've been myth-busting Halloween this evening. Could you tell us why bugs are so good?
Oh, I think insects and bugs are really awesome. So they do all sorts of things like pollinate plants or decompost food waste, and they make things like, if you have bees, they'd make honey, or silkworms make silk for clothing. So they've got all different purposes, and they're not scary or anything. I mean, I think most people generalise that insects are maybe creepy crawly, or they move too fast, or they'll infest your house, or they'll bite you. But actually most insects are useful for us, and they're useful for the environment, and most of them are pretty friendly, and I think they're really interesting as well. So I know a lot of people have kept things like stick insects as a pet. They're just really interesting to watch them grow and to feed them and to just kind of watch their life cycles. And that's something I do, because I've got pets as a hobby, pet insects, and I think they're really fascinating.
So I don't eat chicken, and I don't keep them as pets, but I know some people do both of those things, often at the same time. I guess having insects as pets and also eating them is kind of the same sort of thing?
That's quite a good point, actually, because people generalise insects and they say all insects are the same, they're all scary. But for me, I see there's some insects that are for food, like mealworms and crickets, and there's some that I wouldn't eat, like perhaps my stick insects, because I see those as pets rather than as food. So that's quite interesting. But yeah, mealworms, sometimes people even keep them at home to feed to their chickens. And I think if you've done something like that, or even to feed your birds or your lizards, then you kind of learn that they're not scary and they're not horrible or anything like that.
Well, we've seen you tweet about cricket pasta and buglaffle. What are the kinds of things that you've made with insects?
One of the first things I made was a pad thai, so that's like a noodle dish, and I replaced, instead of having prawns, I put in crickets. The pasta that I eat is made from a company called Bugsalutely in Thailand, and they're kind of 20% cricket powder and 80% regular wheat to make pasta. But one of my favourite things to do in the summer is to make burgers to take to barbecues. And I use 50% beef mince and 50% mealworm mince, plus, onions and things like that. And I take them to my barbecues and I always tell people what they are. And then we cook them and we eat them, and I get people to say whether they think it's nice or not. And they said they're actually nicer than the ones from the shop, which is great. So yeah, I'm always pleased when people give me good feedback. And I think one of the next things I would like to make is jalapeno cricket bread, which is going to be a bit of an experiment. A lot of companies make things like protein bars with insect powder, or cereal bars, or there's even supermarkets, particularly a couple in the Netherlands, that have made things like schnitzels, but they use, I think it's mealworms they use in those.
Wow.
So yeah, you can use a real variety of stuff.
That sounds incredible. There's obviously a lot there to try.
Yeah, they're really versatile. You get insects that taste, some of them like mushrooms, some taste like pistachio nut or peanut butter, and there's even ones that taste like honey or citrus. So there's a real variety of different things that you can make if you can get your hands on different types of bugs.
So are there any bugs that people can't eat? Should we buy them from a specialist, or just sort of like pick them out of other people's hair, chimp style?
I would definitely suggest buying them from a specialist, such as a farm, because they'll have regulations in place to make sure that the insects are safe, and that means that they know what the insects have been fed on. Because if you've got them out of the garden, if you've got, for instance, snails or crickets, grasshoppers, then you don't know if they've eaten pesticides or if they've got parasites, so they might not be safe to eat. What you could do, and some people have thought about doing, is catching some insects and then breeding them at home, and then after maybe 2 generations or 3 generations, then you know that the insects would be safe to eat because they've not eaten anything that's going to be dangerous or harmful to you.
And you've talked a bit about your trip in Thailand. What were you doing while you were out there, and did you find anything interesting or new?
Good question. I was going to experience and kind of document the different types of insects that were on sale. So I was looking in markets and in supermarkets to see what kind of bug products there were and how they were cooked. And the main thing that I did was to interview people. So that included tourists and local people, and also some farmers and market sellers. And I wanted to find out whether they eat insects, and if they did, why and which ones and how much, and whether they would be interested in farming them. So it was kind of like a different groups of people and their experience of eating insects, and that was really, really interesting. So I had some local people who said they'd never tried insects, and then they did try some because they said that the packaging was nice and they knew that it was clean and it was well marketed and the insects were well looked after, so it'd be safe to eat. And I spoke to local people and whether they thought insect eating was weird or whether it's something that they would ever consider doing in the UK. So yeah, got some really interesting feedback and some really cool experiences of different people.
It's obvious that a big part of people's resistance to eating bugs is that psychological barrier about eating insects. How can people get over that?
Well, I think one thing is kind of exposure to insects in general, because like I mentioned before, I think people associate insects with bad things, so rotten food or insects swarming or biting you, and I think that's a real kind of misconception. I think if people were exposed to insects a bit more, then they would realise that they're not so scary. And one thing that I like to do is make food that people recognise, make food that they kind of know what to expect from it. So like the falafel and the burger, they know kind of what to expect, so it's not something really strange. I also like to give people food for free because everybody likes free stuff. So if you go to an event and let someone try something, and I also think it's quite important to get good role models, so perhaps celebrity chefs who are good at putting different ingredients together, presenting things really nicely, and people who are quite kind of respectable and someone who's a good influence. So, you know, kind of if they say you should try this food, then other people think, yes, that's probably something that's good.
Farming meat the way we currently do is really bad for the environment. I was reading the other day that giving up beef would be better for the environment than giving up your car. Could insects be a sort of better source of protein, environmentally speaking?
If you're a meat eater and you were, for instance, eating beef, if you take 1 kilogram of beef, then you need about 25 kilograms of feed, according to some estimates. But if you are farming a kilogram of crickets, which has got about the same amount of protein in it, then you only need about 2 or 2.5 kilograms of feed. So obviously you're using less resources. And you also need way more water to farm cows and pigs and chickens than you do to feed and to farm crickets. And also you need way less land, because if you've got something like cows and pigs, they're not really stackable. If you have a cricket farm, then you can have quite a lot of insects in one space. And also insects hardly let off any greenhouse gases. Oh, and also you don't have to give antibiotics to insects, so we wouldn't be contributing to antibiotic resistance.
So the Bug Shack aims to promote edible insects. Are we going to see a bug cafe or a bug pop-up restaurant in the not too distant future?
That is something that I have thought about, and it's something I would really love to do in the future. And I've got loads of ideas about how it would be set up and all the fun events we could do. I think my talents are more in research and communication rather than business. So in the future, I'd like to team up with someone else who has more skills to set up a successful cafe and hopefully make that happen at some point in the future. It's interesting to note that there are actually a couple of places that you can buy bugs already. So there's Archipelago and Oaxaca in London, and they do some insect snacks like with crickets or ants. And there's a place called Grub Kitchen in Wales that does insect foods. So there are places you can go. I would like to definitely have that kind of thing myself with some really, really fun events.
I think we need to take a road trip down to one of those cafes and check that out. Now, how can our listeners get hold of some of your tasty bug-based treats?
So if you follow me on Facebook or Twitter, you can find me just on Facebook, The Bug Shack, or Twitter at The Bug Shack. You can find out when my latest events will be. Another thing you could do is invite me to one of your events, and I can either bring food or come and help cook something exciting. And you can also find lots of bug companies online who sell pre-prepared food, like the bug snacks and things like that, if you just want to have something to add to your dinner party. But yeah, just invite me to some different events. I do quite a variety of things that are quite fun. So I've been to Festival, I've done a TEDx talk. I go to things like Skeptics in the Pub quite a lot, where we talk about the insects and we eat maybe 5 or 6 different snacks and then discuss what everybody thinks. Usually really good fun.
Oh, brilliant.
Do you have any tips for budding bug experts and entomophagists of the future?
Absolutely, yeah. There's loads of interesting bug groups on Facebook. So if you just search for edible insects or entomophagy, you can join in some of our communities and get tips on recipes or even tips on how to farm your own insects. There are different groups for insect farming online as well, so you can find tips or equipment to do that. Or just keep an eye out for all the different events that are popping up and join some of those and come and talk to us, or just email some of the companies and ask some questions.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show this evening. Really appreciate your time and coming on and telling us all about the things that we all could and maybe should be eating.
No problem. Thank you very much.
I did have something to say, but that's a better segue than I was going to be able to come up with. I was just going to mention, as you may have seen on Twitter, that our Huel has now separated into 2 weird kind of sedimentary layers. Speaking of packages that we have received, as we mentioned earlier in the show, we have another one of Terence Eden's magical £5 things.
Well, yes, and you'll be able to win it this week if you get the winning word. So keep listening out for that word and call us as soon as you hear it.
Definitely do. But for those of you that don't know, Terence Eden, who we had in episode 1, runs a blog that pretty much finds cool stuff that's on Amazon for under £5. And every show we order one of these things, and we have no idea what it's going to be. So
I've got the package in front of me, shall I?
Yeah, go for it. Give it a tear.
There we go. And, what is it? Let's see. Oh, it is a fascinator to go in your hair. It is described on the back, Tinsky peacock feather pin hair accessory. It's beautiful.
Very pretty.
Nice.
It is quite pretty, actually. I'd wear it. And so this can be yours.
It can indeed. That, along with last show's yellow submarine tea infuser, which was the item we got a couple of weeks ago.
And some geekly stuff.
Yes, so. there's some general merch in there as well. But if you hear the winning word, give us a ring, and this could all be...
It could all be yours. It could all be yours. Lads, it could all be yours.
All right, then.
If I suddenly go northern. But speaking of northern, we were...
Okay.
I mean...
Well, I was thinking Bake Off, and I was thinking that at the end of the final this week, they had that little montage, and Val was allowed back into Yorkshire.
Yes,
she was.
But it was the final of the final series on the BBC of the Great British Bake Off this week.
It
I
was.
can't believe it. Seemed to go by so quick.
It was an emotionally tense final.
It was. Congratulations to the winner. Are we going to say who the winner was?
Well,
Have
yeah, the
people
winner
seen
was...
it? Have you seen it yet? Go watch it.
Maybe
so if
we
you
shouldn't.
don't know, well, yeah,
Well,
maybe.
yeah. If you don't want to know the results,
Turn your knobs
listen
down for
away
10
now.
Congratulations to Candice.
Yes.
You can turn the knob back up now.
Although,
Although
you know, how would they?
probably
Anyway,
not.
But
You probably want to keep that knob down.
Yeah,
for a little
true.
while. You might,
Well, yes,
it
and
out.
we've all been fans of Bake Off this series here as well.
we have indeed.
Which I think
And-
is
What?
fun.
Yes, it is fun. And we spoke to Andrew Smith on episode number 1 about how he was getting on in the tent, and of course he made the final.
He did. We were very, very impressed by this, and we were rooting for Andrew. I was on #Team Andrew, as it was, as a lot of our listeners seem to have been. So I've been tweeting at Andrew and things, and Andrew's kind of off doing book tours and stuff like that at the moment. But let's give him a call and congratulate him live on the show.
Indeed.
So let's just fire up the phone here. Let's get this going. Let's see if we can.
Currently crossing everything that this works.
Yeah. Shall we? Okay, the phone should be just about. Oh, no.
That's your jingles, not your phone.
That's not even the phone.
Kez has 2 touch screens on the desk.
Too much going on here.
They're very next to
all right,
each
the
other.
call. Hang on, let's see. There we go.
There we go.
Hello.
Hello, Andrew. Nice to speak to you.
Yes, nice to speak to you.
Thank you for joining us again.
That's right, no worries.
Andrew, huge congratulations on getting through to the final.
Thank you very much.
That must have been an exciting but nerve-wracking experience.
Yes, yeah, very nerve-wracking. I mean, I had always hoped to make it to the final, but until you're there, you don't really know what it's going to feel like. And once you're in the tent and it's just 3 of you, it feels so empty. You know, especially with Jane and Candice on one side and me on the other. I just had a whole half of the tent to myself. So it really was the final show, and that final show stuff was a bit manic for all 5 hours.
Yeah, but I think one of the things that everyone watching was salivating over was that chocolate cake. Was your grandmother actually proud of the fact that her recipe impressed Paul Hollywood so much?
You know what? I haven't actually had a chance to speak to her yet, and I must give her a call. It's all been so manic. Everyone's been asking me about the chocolate cake actually, but it seemed like an appropriate way to finish. I've always loved it. We have that chocolate cake at every birthday, and it seemed a really appropriate way to finish the whole experience, just with a nod to one of the first things I ever had that she made and that I helped make. So it was quite a nice final turn for me.
Oh, it must have been really difficult not telling her about that.
Yeah, no, it really was. Well, it was really difficult not telling anyone, actually. I had to keep it under my hat for so long, because the final was filmed, back in June time. So it's been a long time since knowing the result and everything to keeping it quiet right up until Wednesday evening. So, yeah, it's a bit of a relief to finally be able to be totally open with everyone.
Jane and Candice, they're going on a road trip without you. What's that all about?
Yeah, a surprise to me as well. I saw that. Yeah, I don't know. I think they both have a love of French things, so I imagine they might be going on a little trip to France together. But yeah, no, I haven't had an invite yet. If I'm invited, I'd love to go, but I don't know. Otherwise, I might just go on a motorbike trip to Selassie or something.
Oh, well, I think that sounds more fun personally, but
yeah, but think about it. When you're carrying cakes on a motorbike, that's
yeah, you can get those sort of pack things that like hang over the side, can't you? And you can have a backpack.
Yeah, well, I could be in the sidecar with the goggles.
Suddenly, that's a perfect mental image right there.
Yeah, I know.
So, soggy bottoms at the last hurdle when it came to those tarts and quiches on Wednesday night. Have you tried baking them again since, or are they things you now want to avoid?
You know what? I've made the tart or a variation on the tart since, and I know exactly where I went wrong with those. It was a case of the wrong glaze just soaking into the pastry. So I've made them again since with a different glaze on top, and they've come out really, really nicely. So yeah, I think I've learned from my mistakes, and different things happen on the day. So I don't begrudge it or anything. It's just one of those things that just didn't quite go right on the day. But Candice definitely pulled it out of the bag, and a worthy winner because she was faultless throughout the whole final.
Oh yeah, when you were putting the glaze on the tarts, I thought, oh my god, they're the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And then when Paul picked it up, I was like, no.
And then it just slowly, it was awful to watch because they were so crisp when they came out of the oven. And then I just saw them. I saw the liquid just running off and running in. And then we lifted it up. I was so gutted because I've been so careful to get them really thin and really crisp. And then,
I was shouting at the TV.
Just to see it flop like that off the plate. But, that's what Bake Off. It wouldn't be Bake Off if it didn't have the odd disaster.
One thing I did really love seeing was that very good-looking spreadsheet you were using.
Oh, yes.
Do you have any top Excel tips for our listeners?
The more colours, the better, generally. I mean, I don't know if you saw, I had a little legend. It was a little colour key for stuff going in the oven, because then I could look across and see if I double-booked my oven. I had chilling was like blue or dark blue, so I could see how many shelves I was using. There was much deeper meaning to the spreadsheet than met the eye in the brief glimpse. So,
oh, wow.
So it wasn't just the 5-minute timings?
No, it wasn't the 5-minute timings. It had organising the oven, organising the fridge, and then every 5 minutes of every bake in tandem was planned out. So I tell you what, putting that together was a bit of a challenge in itself, but hats off to the other two because they didn't have a spreadsheet and they absolutely cracked it. And did it without, so clearly they're better multitaskers than I am.
I make a detailed plan when I'm doing Christmas dinner. I have every 5 minutes. So I was like, yes.
Yeah, I think I'm on Team Spreadsheet. But thinking of that, Team Andrew, you've got a huge fan base now. Team Andrew was trending on Twitter during the final. You've had people travelling across the country to hear you sing in concerts. How are you finding your newfound fame?
I'm just riding the wave at the moment and enjoying it. It's been a bit mad, especially that lovely girl, actually, I met her, who travelled all across the country with her poor dad. I think I came from north of London up to Derby to see a concert that I was singing in, which was totally mad. But, everyone's been overwhelmingly positive, especially in Derby and back in Northern Ireland. Everyone's just been so keen to get behind me. And it's been really nice, and I'm looking forward now. We've got a book tour in the next couple of days, so we'll get into Manchester, Birmingham, London, and then back in Belfast on Saturday. So it'll be really nice just to see all the fans face to face, because Twitter's one thing, but actually meeting people and getting to see them is something that I'm really looking forward to.
Yes, I noticed that you tweeted about the book tour, and I also read in the Radio Times that you're keen to do more TV baking. So what does the future hold for the Cakesmith?
So very much keeping my options open at the moment, but I've been thinking a lot about it recently, and I'd love to use it as a bit of a launch pad to get into science and engineering broadcasting, or something on the TV side, because I think there's probably an appetite for more popular engineering type shows on the TV. So in the short term, I'm definitely going to lap up all the stuff that comes with Bake Off and the live baking demos. I'm going to keep on baking and bringing my precision brand of baking to the table. But longer term, I'd really love to segue into science education and that type of thing. Things that weren't possible a year ago now are potentially becoming an opportunity with Bake Off. So just embracing it with both arms.
Well, as Chronicles that are indeed geeky, we wholeheartedly support that idea. You're always welcome back.
Yes.
Thank you.
We've been looking at food on the show this week, particularly sort of future foods or foods that aren't quite foods. So we've been trying things like cheese in a can and meal replacement powders, things like that. We're not really impressed. Do you have any thoughts on sort of future food?
I tried one of my colleagues recently started using one of those nutritional powder. It's like the totally nutritionally complete powder that you can have for every meal.
Yeah, this is one of the things we've been trying.
Yeah, and he brought it into the office, and I have to say I wasn't convinced. It was kind of like vanilla mush, but he just sees food as fuel, so just thought it was the best thing ever. He could just have his powder for lunch, fill it with water, and he was happy as Larry. I don't think he'd do it for every meal, but that's been my own experience of that kind of thing, and I have to say I wasn't convinced. Give me a sandwich any day.
Yeah, it just takes the joy out of food for me. But as we were researching all of this future food, we discovered the travesty that is no more tea bags, which is tea in an aerosol can. Would you drink tea out of an aerosol can?
Well, I mean, it sounds intriguing. I don't know. I mean, I thought part of the joy of tea was kind of the steeping it, the pouring, the process as much as the result. So I don't know if I'm totally sold on the aerosol can. But if it tastes great, then yeah, why not? I suppose. I mean, food's moving more with that Heston and everything. Food's moving in a bit more of a techie direction, but tea in a can, not so sure.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I love the whole process of teapots and everything. Yeah.
I feel like that's part of the relaxation, is kind of making the tea, and then it's kind of the mentally rewarding process of then when you sit down with the tea, it just gets the dopamine receptors going.
Indeed. Lastly, and slightly fitting with the spooky time of year, bugs as snacks. We talked to Dr. Jenny Josephs in this show about the health and environmental benefits of eating insects. Would you bake a bug cake if you had the chance?
That's intriguing. I think if anyone was going to put a bug in a cake, it was probably going to be Tom with his experimental flavours. So I don't know, maybe some dried bugs powdered and put in a sponge. He could make a bug Genoese. I think he's probably the one that's most likely to do something like that.
A bug Genoese, that's something I'd like to taste.
If he hears this, I'm sure he'll do it. So maybe I'll mention it to him and he can feedback.
Protein cake.
Fantastic. I would try it, just out of curiosity.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Andrew, congratulations again on getting through to the final, and of course to all of the bakers for keeping us entertained for so many weeks now.
Thank you very much. It's been great fun.
Yeah, thank you for coming back on the show, and best of luck with everything. We can't wait to hear what you do next.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks again for joining the call. Well, thanks again to Andrew for picking up the phone when we
Yes.
rang. In spite of my my pressing of all the wrong buttons, there are
Indeed.
very much some gremlins in the machine tonight.
There are.
It's always the way when you have a whole bunch of kit in front of you. There's always a gremlin lurking around.
Somewhere.
But, yes, somewhere. I can still taste the Huel.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's completely
No matter-
separated in our glasses.
No matter how much of that canned cheese I can't seem to get rid of that
Shift the Huel.
Huely
Yeah,
teeth dust.
I don't rate it as a drink.
No, you could probably disguise it in a cake or something.
No, you put that in a cake. The cake is going to turn into. It's just going to be concrete. You'll have to smash it like Donald Trump's Hollywood star.
Just go sledgehammer on that cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about the only way that will happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to
Game of-
decide.
No, you.
Okay,
you
I
go.
was going to speak, but I'm trying to decide between a Huel cake or an insect cake. Which one would be less appealing?
Oh, and I definitely want an insect cake, hands down over that.
Mm-hmm.
Game of Geeks.
Oh, it is time for this week's Game of Geeks.
It is. Funny that.
Let's see if I can maintain my winning streak.
Well, I mean, you didn't win last time. I did.
I know, but last time didn't count.
All right. Yeah.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, now that we have thoroughly confused everyone about who plays Game of Geeks and who asks the questions, as a reminder, it is our quiz show where Catherine and I get asked questions
Yes.
by Chris, except last week because I was away.
Indeed. As
Uh,
careful listeners will
yes.
know, I am the quiz master, and each round there will be 3 clues, and Kez and Catherine can buzz in when they think they know the answer. If you get it on the first clue, you score 3 points. If you get it on the second, you score 2, and if you get it on the third clue, you'll score just 1 point.
Like I need 3 clues to anything.
You thought a pineapple was a coconut on the last show.
As I said last time, doesn't count.
Uh-huh. Well, for this quid, we're going to need buzzers. So, Kez goes.
Wow.
Halloweeny. And Catherine goes. Golly.
Yes, I do sometimes.
Crikey. Crikey.
Okay, well, moving swiftly on from that, let's begin, as most quizzes do, with round 1. Round 1 is a book, and your first clue is this is a dystopian novel published in 1953.
Is
Yes.
it 1984?
No.
Oh.
Good, because I'd have been really miffed that I didn't press before you if it had been.
1984 is not the answer. Okay, clue number 2. In this book, firemen do not put out fires, but start them. Any ideas?
This is definitely something I have not read, which is
Ah.
a lot of books.
There's like a Venn diagram of all of literature, and then a tiny little bubble on the corner. It's just like the Harry Potters and the.
Yeah.
Any ideas, Kez?
I'm stumped.
All right, we'll go for question number 3 then. The title of this book is, according to its author, although this claim has since been contested, The Auto-Ignition Point of Paper. Anyone got anything?
No, this has thoroughly confused me.
Catherine, you look like you've stalled.
Yes, my brain is buffering.
Yes, has encountered a problem and needs to close.
Just trying to think of a book title that would answer that question, and I'm failing, and I don't like it.
Oh no. Well, as Bramful of Stoker points out in the chat room, it is Celsius 488.3, or as some of us call it, Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury.
Right, yeah,
The answer to that one.
don't know it.
So we'll move on. No points there, but we'll move on to round 2. This is a film, and this 1997 British crime comedy film is described by Wikipedia as part Ealing comedy, part underdog farce.
I don't know, let's have a guess. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Is incorrect,
Okay.
I'm afraid. Any idea, guys?
No, give us the next clue.
All right, question number 2. This film features appearances by Jeffrey Whitehead, Annette Crosby, and Peter Capaldi.
Shooting fish.
Is the correct answer.
It was the crime that threw me.
Crime.
No, there was plenty of crime in
There's
Shooting
plenty
Fish.
of crime, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favourite
Just
films.
doesn't feel like
Lots
crime.
of crime going on in that film.
Oh, yes.
You forget that.
Oh, yeah. I forget the crime.
All right. Well, hopefully, I've just noticed how easy the next 2 questions are. So hopefully you can claw back some points, Catherine. As
Fingers
we move
crossed.
into round 3, this is a film as well. And this film was the highest grossing release of 2015.
About to press the buzzer.
The Star Wars film, The Force Awakens.
Had you just finished at the Star Wars film, I would have been unable to give you the 3 points. But fortunately, as you finished the title, that is the correct answer.
Whoop, whoop.
Star Wars The Force Awakens was the highest grossing film of 2015 and is the answer to this question.
Was also the answer to a Game of Geeks question at the end of last series.
That's as maybe. Catherine and I haven't
Okay.
compared
The
lists.
answers could be the same.
Yes.
The questions are different. It's incidentally Daisy Ridley, who was obviously Rey in the film, was described as a total unknown before she was given that role by Rolling Stone magazine.
There we go.
So yeah. So Catherine is pulling ahead by 1 point at the moment as we go into round number 4. This is a TV show.
Okay.
And the first clue is this series is based on a series of novels by Charlene Harris.
I don't know who that is.
True Blood.
Is the right answer.
There you go.
Storming ahead with another 3 points in an abrupt end to Game of Geeks.
Oh, is that it?
Sorry, I'm kind of abrupt.
I can move on to another question as we have ended so soon after we began.
Please.
So this one.
I mean,
this
it's actually
one's a bit
impossible for me
trickier.
not to win, but you know. Might as well have another question.
I can toss another one in, but let's see if Kez can claw back. Well, yeah, let's see if Kez can claw back some.
Those gremlins are back to get me again.
Indeed. Okay, this is another film. And for 3 points, the first question is: this film shares its name with a series of BBC regional current affairs programs. Kez.
The shipping forecast.
A regional current affairs program, and you've gone with the shipping forecast.
It's regional and it's current affairs to me.
Well, no.
The sea is your region.
If the sea is your region. Okay, I should specify the regions are on land. I never thought that the regional current affairs programs would be the bit of the clue I would have to disambiguate. But that's not the right answer, I'm afraid. Catherine, any ideas?
No.
Okay, let's move on to question number 2. This Pixar film is accompanied by a short film entitled Lava. One of Pixar's shorts that they do.
Inside Out?
Is the right answer.
Boom!
Didn't realise Inside Out was a regional TV programme.
It is. Inside Out West. The one we used to get in Bristol. It's
Never heard of it anywhere else.
a show about
Now that you mention
stuff.
it, it sounds vaguely familiar, but I never
Yeah.
would have got it from that first clue.
It's like if Horizon was less specific and interesting.
Well, I guess we know what that means then.
We do, with a massive 7 points to Kez's 2.
This week's winner is Catherine.
In fact, 8 points. I was wrong. But yeah, well done. On another Game of Geeks victory.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
You have
That's terrible.
maintained your winning streak if we ignore episode 2 where I won.
yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I blame the gremlin.
So after the next song, we're going to check back in with the Would You Fund It results and find out once and for all whether you would install a crap bot for Halloween.
Well, I'm still very much in support of that bot.
I mean, it automates Halloween. I'm happy with anything that automates anything else.
Yeah, I often feel bad because I often end up going out on Halloween and then I'm just not there, so I don't know if trick-or-treaters come or not. So it would be nice to know that even if I wasn't there, I could still kind of take part in some way.
The most exciting thing that's happened while that song was playing is that the phone started ringing.
Yeah, so I can only assume that this is either my pizza being here, or this
Did you need
is...
something to get rid of a Huel taste?
Yes, or this is someone who has guessed our winning word. So, by the magic of life, I should be able to pull up this fader and say, by the magic of life, I'm just ad-libbing here. By the magic of the internet and our phone system and the Huel, I should be able to pull up this fader and talk to our mystery caller.
Hello.
Hello, mystery caller.
Hello.
Ah, it works. You can hear us then.
I can hear you.
Wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Yay.
Now, please state for the record your name and your plea.
My plea?
Are you, who are you?
I'm Amy. Hi,
Hello.
guys.
Hello. Sorry, I was attempting to be funny and it backfired entirely. Now, are you here to guess the winning word?
I am, because you sounded a bit desperate on that third mention of it.
You did pick it up then.
Oh, yes. Yes, it was subtle as a sledgehammer.
Lovely.
Yes.
So can you tell us the 3 times we did mention it?
I can't remember the first one. And then there was one after the interview, and there was one a moment ago when you were looking at all your buttons.
Yes.
That does sound about right.
Button confusion.
Yes.
Win.
So congratulations, you have won. Chris, what has she won?
Well, Amy, you have won a Yellow Submarine tea infuser, a Peacock Fascinator for your hair, and a bundle of geekly merch as well to go with it. So it's quite exciting
that's the
stuff.
most exciting thing in the world ever.
Indeed it is. I can't help but agree.
Yes, so thank you very much for calling in and being a part of the show and being a part of the winning word.
Well, absolutely loving it tonight, guys.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Is there a song that we can add to the request queue for you?
Ooh, something bouncy.
Something bouncy. We'll see what we can do. All right, well, thank you very much, Amy, for calling in. We appreciate it.
No worries. Speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there we go. The winning words is done. And thinking of winning or losing, as I have lost Game of Geeks this evening, how is my Would You Fund It idea doing?
Let's have a look at the results. And closing the poll on the website, it looks like the crapbot has caused a 50-50 split in tonight's audience, whether or not they would fund or not fund it.
It's like flipping a coin.
Really? Yeah.
Well,
The odds are
no, they're
literally
not,
No, that's true.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
Wow, so half of you would fund it, half of you wouldn't. Well, I'm going to say that means you would fund it.
The computer says that means it's not funded, but you can count it as a win if you want.
I'm going to.
I'll change the computer. Yeah. So, I mean,
I just love that doorbell idea. I think I might actually make it.
Although I suppose traditionally
want one.
it's the person ringing the doorbell that should administer the trick.
That's true.
Yes, but I'm disrupting this 100-year-old industry with my new innovative doorbell solution.
You can't hear me roll my eyes on the radio, but I did with some force.
It's too late for me not to fund it now, isn't it?
I'm afraid so.
Yeah. No. But that's the result of tonight's Would You Fund It, and we'll be back with another one in our next show.
Gremlin.
Okay.
Okay, yes, we've established that. But that pretty much brings us to
Gremlin.
that pretty much brings us to the end of the Gremlin. Yeah, it's been a fun show. Thank you very much to David from... I can't remember to David for joining us to talk about whether or not we should be afraid of bats and cats and spiders and stuff. Thank you also to Andrew for joining us again, and of course to Jenny Josephs, Dr. Jenny Joseph, for telling us about the virtues of eating bugs.
Well, yes, indeed. Thanks to you, Chris, for making us that cement-like drink.
You're very welcome. Thanks for the chemically reconstructed cheese from a can.
You're very welcome, and thanks, Catherine, for not actually finding any of that horrible teabag replacement stuff.
My pleasure.
Yes.
Genuinely.
That's probably the best thing you have done to for the show this evening.
Well, we'll be back with another show in 2 weeks' time. Very exciting. But please do trick and or treat responsibly. Look where you're going when you catch your Pokemon.
Indeed.
And take care of yourselves and each other.
Thank you, Jerry Springer.
Yes.
Yeah, but we'll be back on the 11th of November, as I said. But until then,
from me, Kaz.
From me, Chris.
And from me, Catherine.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
You've been listening to the Geekly Chronicles. Content was researched and vaguely fudged together by Chris, Catherine and Kez, who are also your hosts for this evening's show. The Geekly Chronicles is a Tiny Kettle production. Any reference to any persons or things living or dead was probably in error. What is reality anyway? Don't take the blue pill, live long and prosper, wear sunscreen.